Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed? Welcome back to the Hoops Temple podcast. We have to sing the American national anthem as we are now world champions. I'm Nathan Schwartz. Joining me in New Zealand, Dylan Williamson.
I was waiting for that ticket to the Fergie part.
There's a Fergie part of the national anthem?
Yeah, you know the iconic Fergie All-Star game. The banner, yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, I do remember this. Listen, I could only subject our listeners to so much of me singing. Like my wife has to hear me sing. She married me. My dogs have to hear me sing. I feed them. I don't know that our listeners have to hear me sing. That might be too cruel a torture for them.
You know, you've earned the right, Nate. Your contributions to the gold medal were uncountable, and so you've earned this. You contributed almost as much as Tyrese Halliburton.
Did you see Halliburton tweet out after the game with his gold medal when you did nothing on a group project, but you still get an A?
Oh yeah.
Just perfect. The fact that he embraced that.
Yeah.
Like
he didn't get his mom to complain to Steve Kerr.
Hey, Tatum saw some game time. Him in that.
It works. It's a lesson for everyone at home, for all the kids at home. If you're not getting enough game time, just tell your mum to complain to the coach.
As a former coach,
works.
Dear God,
time.
please no, never do that.
Be honest though, Nate. Little Jason, he's not getting much game time because he's superfluous to the team's needs. And his mommy comes up to you. She's like, "Hey, you got to get my son more game." Are you not in the next game going, "All right, we got to get little Jason a couple minutes here"?
I mean, I probably actually would. That would probably influence my rotation a little bit. I will say though, like, this is why, as a former high school coach, I have meetings with the parents. I meet with them all before the seasons. I tell them how it's going to be. The only time in my 8 years of coaching that I ever had a parent complain to me was about a different kid. They're like, it's not fair that this family drove to this tournament 2 hours away and their son sat on the bench the entire time. And I'm like, met with his parents multiple times this year. That kid, basketball is not his first priority. He skipped practices a number of times. He skipped games. It's not super talented. Great kid, great locker room guy. Fully understood his role. Cheered the guys on. Freaking loved that kid. But
he's the finesse of the team.
He's the kid that I don't need his parents talking to me about. Because, like, just get over it.
You know, you've mastered what every NBA player who has to ride the bench says, which is about setting expectations. Whenever you hear an NBA player say good things about a coach, it's that they're always on the same page. They let them know exactly what's going on, when they're going to play, and how much, and so on. And so you've mastered that aspect, that Ty Lue like aspect of coaching.
Yes. The aspect that Steve Kerr still is working on with his random yanking guys in and out of rotations. But let's talk some Team USA, some gold medal game. Honestly, the last two games, brilliant Steph Curry performance, just phenomenal. And that fourth quarter, I wasn't sure who the finals MVP, or not finals, the Olympic MVP would go to. Curry hit some amazing shots. LeBron hit some shots. Durant hit some shots. And then Curry just said, no, this is mine. Let me hit this huge shot over Wemby and call it good.
Yeah. And France were on a run. They had a big rally to cut it from double digits. I think they were down to within 3 points at one point in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And Steph Curry's like, all right, I'll take over from here, boys. Watch this, Jason Tatum. This is how you win a game.
We're at the end of the tournament. what big revelations do you have? Any big thoughts?
I think I've mentioned them before. First one is that I think I have come to underrate LeBron, um, because he hasn't really done much in the past couple of regular seasons. I had him outside of the top 10, but seeing the couple times where he was able to just turn it on and become totally unstoppable, has made me reconsider maybe the fact that he actually does still have that and he can turn it on when he needs to. And if we're considering what will this guy be not only in a regular season, but also last 2 minutes of a fourth quarter in a game 7, maybe LeBron actually does still have a little bit more to offer than some of these other guys, these younger guys that would have moved into the top 10 ahead of him. And then the other thing, unless you've got any thoughts on that.
My only thought on that and on the LeBron issue is a lot of gray showing up in that beard. I don't know if he couldn't get that men's beard color through customs and into France. It feels like you probably get someone to go to a salon and pick you up some, but the beard's looking really gray.
It looks hard, man. The gray beard, it looks tough, especially when there's no denying at this point that he's old as fuck. Like when you've got your son playing on your team, like you're a grandfather. The gray beard looks tough.
I cannot wait until some newspaper, some reporter, someone uses the title. Bronny's not the only one calling LeBron daddy tonight.
Oh my god. it's not going to be a newspaper, but you know that tweet's coming.
Just the he's Bronny's daddy. He's also the Raptors' daddy. Something like that.
Yeah. It's going to be memes. It's going to be like a picture of LeBron and Bronny and like crying DeMar DeRozan and being like LeBron and his 2 sons or some shit.
Exactly. What was your next point?
Wemby's a superstar, man. He was the go-to guy, the best player on both ends on a team that made the gold medal match, and were the scoreline makes it look worse than it was. It was a closer game than that through much of it, and he was the guy for France, for the second best team in the world, who got within one possession of taking the lead.
When we did our Olympics preview, you said Germany was the number 2 team. I said Canada was the number 2 team. Victor went through both of them. And I think it's interesting that, I mean, it's not that. Victor and another center doesn't make a ton of sense. It didn't work as well. It forces Victor to be more of the perimeter player as opposed to being able to do both. Because Gobert is not spacing the floor. So that just crowds the paint. I think Embiid made the right call. I think if Embiid had gone and played for France, Embiid's riding that pine. Him and Gobert are sitting next to each other. And it's we only have room for one center and one Gershon Yabusele, and everyone else just wait it out.
Man, what a stretch from Yabu as well. I hope he gets a big paycheck in the EuroLeague off of that.
He's under contract already. I did go and check because when we did our Dunn or Chris Dunn segment back in March, and I said, listen, this guy could come back to the NBA. He looks good. I called that. I went and reclipped that and put it on TikTok again. I had to check what he's making, and I couldn't find exact figures, but he is under contract till next offseason.
Who's he playing for?
Real Madrid.
Ah, okay. So he's probably making pretty good money.
Yeah. Aaron and I were texting. He's like, "Can an NBA team buy him out?" I'm like, I don't know how much they can afford to buy this guy out. It's not like back in the day where hey, an NBA salary like triples this guy's earnings. Like, you probably have to pay good money to get him off Real Madrid.
Yeah. He does sort of fall into like that archetype of really good European player but not good NBA player because the things that they do well are things that they're not going to be asked to do in the NBA.
Mm.
Like Mike James, for example, who's like a European superstar, or Shane Larkin, guys who can't really play in the NBA because the thing that they're actually good at is shot creation, and no team is going to be like, yeah, let's run everything through Mike James.
See, I think Gershon actually has pretty high defensive chops, a solid base that would be useful to a lot of teams. And if he's going to
He
hit
is
threes
thick,
like
man. You're not
this,
moving him.
oh yeah, he's coming for the Kyle Lowry best butt in the NBA title. I don't know. I really liked what I saw from Gershon in this. Are there anyone else in the tournament that you have really just enjoyed watching that maybe you don't get to see as much?
No one that springs to mind. Who are you thinking?
Oh man, I had a name.
Are you gonna say the sixth man on the Dominican Republic? You're gonna go real deep on me here?
I mean, I did love seeing Wenyan Gabriel try to hold down the 5 for South Sudan. No, it's a much less obscure name, but Bojan Bogdanovic, and it just reminded me of the Bucks trying to sign him and then getting hit with tampering charges, and now he ends up having this just completely obscure NBA career here in Atlanta where he's not fully appreciated. If Bojan was in Milwaukee, their lineup, they still had Drew. They still figured out how to do that. They probably don't have to break that up because they have another shot creator. So now they've got Drew, Bogdanovic, and I'm sorry, I keep saying Bojan. I mean Bogdan. And Bogdanovic. You gotta correct me on these things. They, at that point, they still have Drew, Bogdanovic, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. And like that team, that would be really good. That'd be really good. Lots of fun. This tournament made me really sad that he's in Atlanta and got buried behind in the Murray Trae Young disaster.
Maybe he can be a more of a trade candidate now that they brought in Riza Shea to play over him as well. Maybe he's more expendable that a good team might be able to throw together a package to entice the Hawks.
Yeah, I think Atlanta just also needs to just figure out what they're doing. They've got enough picks out the door that I don't think they're interested in being bad, but they don't have enough talent to be good.
Yeah, and they did get incredibly unlucky that they got the sprung from 10 to 1 in like the only draft in the last 10 years that doesn't matter.
Yeah, although
and
you know what,
1 year ahead of a good draft next year.
I'm not going to cry pity tears for Atlanta though. Like, what would it be better for them to have gotten the 10th pick and have even less assets? Like, you got your first choice of a guy. Maybe he's not a superstar, but he's still better than what you probably went into the offseason thinking you'd get out of the draft.
Maybe. were you impressed with Summer League Riza Shea?
I didn't watch much Summer League Riza Shea.
Fair enough, because
I'll admit. Yeah. There's enough good basketball going on that this year's Summer League, I couldn't get into it. I normally do, but between the weakness of the draft and the pending Olympics, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna watch a couple WNBA games, and then I'll jump back into NBA stuff come preseason.
Yeah, fair enough. Summer League is a very it's a different sort of taste.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out how to go next year. I'm looking at flights. I'm looking at hotel rooms, trying to figure out the cost. I really do love Summer League. It just was like, I have Olympics. This is my Olympic Summer League.
Hmm. You couldn't have figured out a trip to Paris instead?
If Taylor Swift was in Paris, if this was when her Eras tour was going on there, I could have sold my wife on it in a heartbeat. Does not matter that she's 8 months pregnant. She'd figure out a way to get there.
I love it.
Yeah, another guy that I really liked from Serbia, no, complete unfamiliarity with his game. Alexa Armanovic, their point guard, their number 30. That
Is that the defensive guy?
Yeah, but he was also hitting shots, and I feel like he didn't play in the second half, or he didn't play much in the second half against Team USA, and I felt like they really could have used him. They were playing Misic more, and I don't know, just when the US started making their comeback, I would have gotten Armanovic back in there.
The Serbian Steph stopper.
Hey, he was giving it to him. There's that funny moment where they're walking up the court and he's like trying to talk to Steph and like offers the fist bump, and Steph is just like zoned in, and like he holds out the fist bump for I don't know 3 seconds on air, and Steph finally realizes it and like very passively gives him a little knuckle touch, and then goes about his business. And that guy he tried, he worked, he put in the effort.
Yeah, shout out to my man. Um, the one of the stories of this is that I coming into this, I said that I was worried about USA's lineup choices, that they may be too beholden to the old guys and play them ahead of younger guys who should have played more. As it turns out, the old guys were the right guys to play, so they didn't run into that issue. But looking forward, 4 years from now, are you worried at all that this team is still leaning on 47-year-old LeBron James and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry in their late 30s?
Curry said that he thought this was his only chance to win an Olympic gold. I don't think Curry's coming back. Like I don't think Kevin Durant's coming back. I don't think LeBron's coming back. I am worried. I think next Olympics, 2008, Team USA could lose, and it wouldn't be a shock, just with how good Serbia played and with how much it looks like France is going to be a problem in the near future. And Canada, do you know when the last time Canada made the Olympics?
For basketball?
Yeah.
No, did Steve Nash play for them?
Steve Nash, Todd McCullough, and I can't think of the other guy, the other NBA player. It was the year 2000.
What a year.
Yeah. So, like, I think it's a really disappointing finish for them coming in, I don't know, fourth, fifth in the tournament. But I think Canada's going to be here to stay. They're trotting out 11 NBA players. They're trotting out a number of young guys, RJ Barrett, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like guys that you're not going to have age concerns for the next Olympics. 2028, Team USA, they can't throw these guys together like 3 weeks beforehand. They need a practice. They need to figure out their team like a year in advance.
I'm trying to think, are there any young Canadian big men? Because I feel like that's where they fell apart, is that they actually didn't have any good defensive centers. Like Dwight Powell was their best defensive big, and that led to them like overplaying him instead of going to like Trey Lyles or someone that's actually better, but obviously having no defense. Are there any young Canadian big men that can fix this team, make them the real powerhouse?
I don't think so. Maybe this is Canada's biggest flop. They should have given Joel Embiid citizenship. It's basically a blending of the United States and France. Like, just split the difference. Joel, go join Team Canada.
Man, they're the next generation is not so good.
For which country?
For Canada. Obviously, all those guys that you said, but they're more wings. Like I want like a young big that's going to develop for these guys.
Let's see. Brandon Clark?
Yeah, maybe he can do something. Zach Edey. Zach Edey's Canadian.
Zach Edey. Yeah.
There we go. He's the missing piece.
Kem Birch is still relatively young. Listen, you bring back Tristan Thompson, Canadian. Yeah. How did you feel about Jamal Murray's poor performance?
I think it just goes to show that it's really hard to be on top of your game in this sort of like structure. To do nothing for several months and then come in and sort of expect to be on form is not for anyone. And Embiid, like to a lesser degree, is another guy that really struggled, although his might have been a little bit of injury. But he looked pretty fucking awful at times. Probably shouldn't have played much either. Yeah, I'm not necessarily too worried about Murray going into the NBA season. I think it's just he's maybe a guy that's more susceptible to these sort of, he's more of a guy that needs to be in form.
Yeah, he ended his NBA season hurt. Didn't look like he had it all together. I did not like the movement. I'm hoping, I don't know if he needs another surgery or just more rest or just better rehabilitation between now and the NBA season. But it did make me worried a little bit, just kind of how poorly he looked like he was moving laterally. I don't know. He's 26 years old. He's had a pretty lengthy injury history over the last few years. It does make me a little bit worried for the Nuggets' future.
I mean, yeah, and especially because they're going to have to depend on him more now that they are without KCP. Like that's extra load that probably has to fall onto Murray. Like I don't think Christian Brown is going to be able to take those 10 extra shots a game. And so it's going to be up to Murray to carry more of a offensive load.
Dylan, they signed Russell Westbrook. You don't have to worry about anybody trying to take on more of an offensive load. Westbrook is there.
That's a good point. Like it's not going to go in, like it's not going to go well, but he will take those extra shots. You're right.
Yeah, no, he is ready.
Well, okay, maybe when you get to playoff time and Russell Westbrook's getting DNP CD, then you need Murray to really be on top of his game.
Yeah. Any other Olympic takes or Olympic moments, games, things that you wanted to call out?
Nah, I think we're good.
All right. I do just want to shout out Jokic for going hard in the bronze medal game. I was very nervous that my pre-Olympics prediction that Germany wasn't going to medal was going to be proven incorrect by Jokic not going all out and saying, hey, I lost the gold. I don't care about this anymore. Jokic, once again, I'm very proud of you. Keep it up.
And it was good to see him actually seemingly care about the Olympics. Like I joked that he was the one player in the entire Olympics that doesn't care about winning a gold medal. But he actually did seem to care, so good for him for that, I guess.
I think Jokic has just so much of a game face. It's kind of like resting bitch face, but like it's Jokic's game face, and I think we have gone too far in the Jokic doesn't care jokes. Like Jokic doesn't just want to play with his horses. It's fun, it's cute, I like it. But like Jokic does care about these things. Jokic does want to go out there and win. He is a super competitive person. That I'm reminded of a Gary Harris interview where he talked about Jokic and his brothers wrestling and fighting through walls and literally having contractors on standby to come patch walls in their house. Like, this man doesn't just fuck around. He is here for business. So I'm glad that he showed up for it.
Man, contractor on standby to patch walls. I really could have used it in my first flat at university.
Yeah, the college days could. God, we had a beer pong table on a hardwood floor, and for whatever reasons, people would come in, house party, whatnot. People took their shoes a lot. I don't. uh, Being more experienced with house parties, I'm like, I'm leaving my shoes on. I don't care. But they'd stand at this beer pong table and then slip backwards and fall into this wall. And I patched it like 5 times the first year, and then I left it unpatched. So I was just like, fuck it. You're gonna break it again. And then finally patched it years later when we stopped doing that. But
yeah, we had this one wall that was so bad that it was like the wall between the living room and the hallway. And eventually there was like a door like smashed into this wall, like it went right through both sides. It was tall enough to walk through. It was a nightmare. So I really could have used Jokic's $40 million a year.
well, speaking of the college or the university days, one of the things I texted you about, because we're kind of in the dead of the off season. Let's talk about some sophomores that we're excited to see this next season. We got to witness a couple of them. We got to witness Victor Wembanyama. Let's just start there. What is your prediction for Victor Wembanyama this next season?
It's all offense, I think, because the defense was already there. Like he was. Did he finish second in defense player of the year voting?
I think it was third, but it was
Third,
second
yeah.
or third.
Yeah, like he's already there. And the offense was really rough early in the season, and then sort of came on late. But yeah, I think it's time for um some creation and more efficiency on offense. And if there's one criticism from his Olympics is that he still wasn't that efficient. And so another season, another off season, another year with the team, better shot selection, better efficiency. If he can get to get to 60% true shooting instead of 56, that's just a whole nother level for um, a player like him to reach. And definitely a guy that I think is like probably an all-star this year.
So we're talking last year, 21 points, 10 and a half boards, 4 assists, 3.6 blocks per game. What are those stats looking like this year?
Yeah, he was really bad last year. Obviously, reading out the stats, he's got a lot of work to do. No, but I mean, with better teammates around him, I'd like to see the points tick up more slowly and the efficiency tick up to counterbalance that. So even if it's like 25 points, but it's 60% true shooting, rebounds I don't care about, blocks is fine. It's really just the efficiency that I am gonna be watching out for, because I do think that's pretty much the one thing that he needs to improve.
I think the efficiency is going to come. He had to do a lot of stuff from the mid range. I don't know why
Yeah,
the Spurs were specifically bad at feeding him in the post or like looking ahead at him when they were running. But with Chris Paul, he's going to get
because they didn't have
a
point
good
guards.
number of easy attempts. Yeah.
They,
Yeah,
they
that'll
just didn't
do
have
it.
like
But
experienced players who knew how to pass a ball. Like they just didn't have a guy who knew how to throw a good post entry pass. Like Chris Paul is gonna give this guy so many easy baskets.
I'm looking around for a specific number on Basketball Reference and not seeing it. There it is. How many numbers of what? How many dunks do you think he successfully converted last season? 71 games played, if that helps you.
Like 100.
165.
Hmm.
I'm just saying we need to ratchet that number up. We need to be getting him these touches at the
Yeah.
rim. There was a great moment in the gold medal game where he put back a shot and it's above the cylinder.
Yeah,
would have been
another one
offensive
you're talking
goaltending in
about.
the NBA. Like Durant and I forget who else starts signaling, and then you kind of see Durant say "fuck" and like realizing that
Yeah.
you can get that. Just put the ball up there. Or I'm just saying, you put it up there, let Wemby go get it. That dunk number, there should be 5 dunks a game, just from that length.
Yeah. Yeah, when you combine like the self-created stuff with alley oops, with just like pump fake step through into a dunk, plus offensive rebounds, like there's no way that it shouldn't be crushing dunks this year.
Yeah. Who is the second sophomore that you're interested to see what their season looks like?
Maybe a make or break year for Brandon Miller.
I thought he had a decent year last year. I got started off slow, but developed well. Just the shit show that is Charlotte makes it a little bit hard to know. Like LaMelo Ball being out for so many games, trading away Terry Rozier, or after he had some successes. I thought he did well, all things considered.
Same thing for him. It's well, I guess the one thing to say about Wemby is that there were never really questions, despite the bullshit team and the bullshit lineups that he was on, around effort. Like some of his maybe awareness wasn't always that great, but at least he was sort of consistently trying. Whereas that wasn't necessarily the case for Miller, who was like aware that he was on like a fucking bullshit team. Whereas Wemby tried to stay in it, Miller was like, all right, I know what's going on here. And his efficiency also. Like to see it tick up. You would think on like that kind of team that his numbers would look more like, well, at least in the points, that his numbers would look more like Wemby's, if he is going to be a future star. And so I want to see the volume up, the efficiency up, and if not, then maybe he's a nice third option.
I wouldn't hate him being a third option. I want to see how he improves defensively because he has the length. I don't know that he has the lateral mobility, but if I think the offense is going to come, I think he is a talented enough player on that end already that I'm not too worried. I'm not too like I'm not waiting to see what it becomes. I think it's good enough that he'll stick around the league and be a competent player. But I think the defensive side is going to be what limits him more.
Um, do you think that LaMelo being on this team is something that's going to be helpful to him or a hindrance to his development? And do you think that he's even more important than LaMelo?
I think LaMelo being on this team will I think it will give him the opportunity to be what he wants it to be. Like LaMelo, if you're not interested in playing defense, LaMelo's not interested either. He provides cover for you. If you're not interested in being the star, if you're not interested in being a truly great player, LaMelo
Mm,
kind of being the franchise guy provides you that cover. If you just
yeah.
want to play offense, LaMelo's going to push the pace. You can run with that. But if Brandon Miller is serious about being a star player and being a franchise guy, LaMelo is a he's like an early boss fight in a video game. He's someone that like is tough. He is established. He's a good player. He has fans. He has a reputation in the league. But he's someone that's beatable. And I think if Brandon Miller wants to be a star, he has to be better than LaMelo. And I would say if not this year, next year, he needs to be the franchise guy.
Mm. So then, what's your prediction there? Where do you think he ends up? Are we if you had to bet now, we're going All Star or not?
I'm betting on All Star. I think we overthought it when we were talking draft stuff. Brandon Miller is a 6'8", 6'9" shooting guard who can catch and shoot the lights out. I think that will be an all-star at some point.
Yeah, I like it. He's got all the physical tools, and that's including like 3-point shooting as a physical tool. If he can put it together.
We've done 2 of the top 3 draft picks. Let's just talk about guy number 3, is Scoot Henderson. We always say that guards take more time to develop. I don't know if that's entirely true or if that's just kind of more of like an idiom that, gets proven later in life. But I think he ended the season well. Started off the year rough, sub 10 points per game in October, 10 points per game in November, December 14, January 12, February 18, March 15, April 19. Like, it took him a while to adjust, but those April numbers, yeah, teams are kind of packing it in. Yeah, it's not great, but April, just 7 games, 19 points per game, 9.5 assists on sub league average true shooting, but his best true shooting, second best true shooting by month. Sorry. I think Scoot is going to figure it out this next year, and maybe he doesn't. You don't think this guy is an all-star by the end of the year, but I don't think we're questioning will he be out of the league. He's not going to be a Killian Hayes.
Yeah, I agree. Like I am actually a subscriber to the idea that guards take time, and the hardest thing to be in the NBA is a young point guard. Um, Looking at cleaning the glass, effective field goal percentage among players that they categorize as point guards. He was 4th to last in the league. Kira Lewis, Saban Lee, Jalen Noel, just a little bit worse than him. And his 43.4 effective field goal percentage was the 4th worst in the league among qualifying point guards. So a really abysmal scoring season. The impact metrics were just as bad. Did not do really anything well. 46% at the rim is about the worst in the league as well. You'd expect maybe a guy with this athleticism would at least flash something there. 3-pointers didn't go in really either on fairly low attempts. And so I do think that he was legitimately one of the worst players in the league last year. And I also still think that he could really develop into a really good starting point guard. If he can make that that theoretical athleticism into functional athleticism, with a 3-point shot to come along just a little bit, learn how to read a defense, how to run a pick and roll. That's going to make his finishes easier than just like jumping into the big man's verticality every single time because he doesn't really know what's happening as he's going downhill. So the big thing for him is like it's the toughest role to play. He played it very, very poorly, but I am still a believer that he does have that upside.
Yeah, the 3-point shot showed up in that in April. It is just 48 attempts, but that is 7 attempts a game that he was hitting 40% on. I think the panic meter was way too high too early. Didn't he also start off the year with some sort of an injury? Was it an eye they poke that had him wearing glasses that he doesn't normally wear? I think that Scoot will be fine. I think the people that were really heavy on Scoot being the number 2 pick, they're probably not going to be proven right, but I don't think they're going to be as proven wrong as like the Sam Bowie case or Killian Hayes again. Like I'm excited to see what he does. I'm going to try to tune in some early Blazers games just to look forward to it.
Yeah, I will not be tuning into early Blazers games because I don't like watching bad basketball, and that's going to be a very rough team to watch. Maybe later in the season.
I gotta tell you, so I try to watch every team and try to get a minimum of 10 games for like non-playoff teams and like a minimum of 20 games for the regular season for playoff teams. And even that is like, that's not a great sample size. That's a fourth of playoff teams' games, but I would much rather watch the early Blazers games before they get the shit kicked out of them during the season and get down on themselves. Like the early games, probably going to be more interesting than the later games.
Yeah, I guess so. And they'll at least have like all their players. Like they won't have sold off all their veterans to begin with. And like their teams like that do sometimes start out like fairly decent. You know, they'll go like 3-5 or something to start out before they go 0-17.
Yeah. Plus, you gotta check in on the Donovan Clegane experience. Slightly adjacent to this, I did see rumors that the Blazers were looking to part ways with DeAndre Ayton to make more room for Clegane. That's not his name. His name is not Clegane. Like he's
Klingon.
Getting the mountain, getting Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I was gonna say. You saw him standing under the rim, and you're like, "That is that the mountain?"
Be much cooler if it was.
Yeah. What a perfect nickname. Even the Hound. The Hound would be a great nickname.
Oh yeah.
He really missed out.
He hasn't missed out yet. We can give him that nickname. I don't think he's got it.
We can just keep calling him the wrong name.
Donovan Clegane, that is it. Listen, Clegane is a fine name, but Clegane, we just call him Clegane, and then we know what that means.
No, yeah, that's the idea. Clegane itself.
Back to the question.
Yeah.
Any landing spots in your mind for DeAndre Ayton?
No, the dude sucks and he makes too much money.
I think you're missing a spot. I think there's a really obvious landing spot for him.
A team that sucks but is also old and has a lot of and can take on salary.
Yep.
And they don't have a center. The trouble is as well that the center's such a deep position because the replacement value is so high. Like I
didn't say that. I didn't say they didn't have a center.
Okay. What's your idea here?
I'm just saying the Pistons have already had Marvin Bagley. They've already had James Wiseman. I think they need DeAndre Ayton to complete the set. It will take away any faith in new management, but if you're willing to take on that contract, get some assets back, just saying, I want that. I want this to happen for completion. There's also the New Orleans Pelicans, who
are starting Daniel Tice.
Yeah, no. Tice was in the trade. I think. I thought he was in the Atlanta trade. Did they get him from Atlanta?
They signed him. He's the only center that they signed. They have no starting centers. They let Valanciunas go, and the only center that they signed is Daniel Tice.
I could have sworn that he was moved. He was like the sign and trade with Atlanta, but I'm not. I'm seeing him listed as New Orleans right now. Keep an eye out. For that.
Yeah. Other than they drafted 2 rookies who are both big men. So unless they're going rookie center, which is the second hardest thing to be after a point guard, unless they're going to go rookie center, then it's Daniel Tice at the 5 time. And so this might be the only team in the NBA that doesn't have at least one center that you'd rather play over DeAndre Ayton.
CJ going back to Portland, I guess.
We could do it.
I don't.
Imagine how sad that will be. They're just being mean. Don't do it just because it's mean.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit like the start of The Walking Dead, where like Rick Grimes goes into a coma and then comes out, and like the world is upended, and like there's zombies everywhere. His family's gone. He finds out that his wife is shacked up with his best friend. Like that's CJ returning to Portland, just being like, everything was fine when I left. What the fuck happened, guys? Why is it all on fire?
That's the perfect analogy.
Maybe you send Brandon Ingram there instead. Maybe they'll be the team that's willing to pay Ingram.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah. All right. Who's another sophomore that you're really interested in their next upcoming season? I know we've been sticking to the top of the draft, but I'm more interested in the guys that you're interested in and less interested in guys who are necessarily the best guys.
Yeah. Keontae George.
My guy.
I really liked what he was able to show flashes of late in the season. And I think that he is potentially the best point guard in this class. And I hope that he's given the time, given the investment to develop as a on-ball player, to show those flashes of shot creation that he was able to so wonderfully display late in the season, and turn that into a true calling card.
Trying to grab his turnover or his splits. So I feel like there was a huge spike in turnovers near the end of the year when they were giving it to him and letting him do more stuff. But I'm here for it. I'm here for the Utah Jazz being inexplicably terrible this next year. Play Bryce Sensabaugh, play Taylor Hendricks, be bad. Don't trade away Walker Kessler. Just let the young guys play more. Trade away Taylor Horton Tucker. Trade away Jordan Clarkson. That is my big hope for Utah this season. They kept Markkanen. I'm disappointed in that, but I hope that he is the only one they keep.
Yeah, I mean they're in like a kind of a difficult place because they've got all these like kind of competent NBA players, Jordan Clarkson and John Collins and
Colin
Walker
Sexton.
Kessler, Colin Sexton, like all these kind of good players who don't really have any value, so other teams aren't going to trade for them, but are also kind of good and kind of need to play. So like they could, I mean, maybe they just do the thing that they always do, which is they start off pretending that they're going to try to be good, and then they just stop playing all their good players. But I hope that they do lean into Keontae as their primary initiator. Who did they draft?
They drafted Cody Williams, brother of Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
And Isaiah Collier, who is a point guard.
Yeah.
He is the guy that started over Bronny James in USC the whole year.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I guess they do have a quite a bit of point guard depth now.
Yeah. I feel like Sexton or Jordan Clarkson could be really useful on a large number of teams across the league that are like the kind of dark horse contender teams. You know, like if you could get either of those guys to Dallas, just to have a fire punch off the bench, have someone that can come in, you know, a minutes eater for 15 minutes in a playoff game that maybe has one or two great games in the playoff run.
Or the Cleveland return for either of them.
Cleveland does not need another guard. They have too many guards.
I guess so, yeah. Just more thinking they don't have any depth, but yeah, no, you're right. They don't need guards. Yeah, but it's the same thing where they're like you run into this thing of they're not quite so good that you're willing to really give up good players for them, and then it's hard to match salary if you're not like there aren't a lot of bad contracts in the NBA anymore. Oh, do you know? I've got it. The Philadelphia 76ers gave KJ Martin a contract way more than what he's worth, so they could use him as a trade, as a living trade exception. There's the move.
The Knicks did the same thing with Precious Achiuwa, although they may just want to keep that Precious Achiuwa contract. They lost some depth at the big with Hartenstein leaving them, but there are teams. You know, the Lakers have an ex-Miami guard right on the roster that play.
You're making $11 million.
Yeah, there's room. I don't think Clarkson. I don't think Sexton or Clarkson are making big money. What are they? 14 and 18 million. It's sizable, but it's not. Not insane.
Yeah, and the other thing is like they're probably not overpaid. Like that's probably their actual market value. It's not that they're negative value. It's just that it's hard to match salary.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that there's a strong chance that Keontae George, if he's not the starting point guard, is at least the best facilitator on the team by the end of the year.
And maybe shot creator as well. I guess Larry's still probably got that. I do think of Larry more as exceeding as like a play finisher, because like he's such a good off ball mover at his size, and he can spot up and he can, duck in. But I suppose he is still maybe a better shot creator than Keontae.
I'm pretty sure that of the other All-Stars, he had like the highest percentage of his shots assisted, in which man moves, man gets open. I'm really bummed that he signed that extension that takes him off the trade table. I would have loved to have seen him ended up somewhere useful.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he's got other priorities.
Generational wealth and family stability.
Yeah,
that's overrated.
Yeah, it's the worst thing you can do. NBA players just need to stop having families. Okay, stop letting these things hold you back from achieving your full potential. Think about me. All right, you should be living your life to entertain me. Don't worry about having a family. That can come later. Think about me.
Just sounds bad when you say it like that.
Lowry, forget about your family. Leave them behind. I want you in Oklahoma City. You're the missing piece.
It would have been so
and
good.
You threw that all away for what? A wife and children.
And, well, I mean, I guess he could have gotten the money either way, but could have gotten the money either way. All right. Exactly. Next sophomore number 5 that I'm really interested in is Ausar Thompson. I went to Pistons games. I live in Michigan. I watch Pistons play every now and then. Ausar is, and to some degree Amin, although I watched a lot less Amin in this last year. Ausar, I believe, has all defensive level capabilities. But I also worry that he's just Matisse Thybulle, like a guy who can absolutely lock you up, but will the offense of game come? There was not much passing, not much playmaking done by him. The shooting is absolutely atrocious. The shot selection wasn't good. But there was none of what I would have expected from like one of those high school prep to pro, like the overtime elite crowd. None of that, which was his whole draft profile. Knew that coming into this, but he is legitimately very good on defense, and so I'm super curious this year to see what he looks like offensively.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's already probably like a top 20 defensive perimeter defender. Like he already on and also on a garbage team, without like a lot of really good defense around him, really did, sort of show out as a defensive player. But I agree, it's hopefully not, but sort of going into a Matisse Thybulle kind of role, I suppose, which is a really hard player to fit in a modern NBA. Does have more athleticism than Matisse. Like he can really get up and finish alley-oops, get offensive rebounds. But the jump shot needs to go, or even just the finishing. He struggled to finish at the rim as well.
Yeah, and part of the finishing at the rim can be the problem, the fact that none of the Pistons can shoot. So if you got to the rim, which he is a very athletic player, but if you got to the rim, there's probably a fair amount of contest. It's not like you're getting lightly contested looks. It's heavily contested. So I want to see what he becomes this next season. Because there's the sophomore slump and there's the guys that take the sophomore leap. And if he can take that leap, that would mean so much for the city of Detroit.
Yeah. What do you think is most likely like positional rollers? Because that's another thing. Is like, is he a 1? Is he a 2? Is he a 3? Is he a 4? Is he a 5? It's kind of hard to find a an obvious fit from. What do you think his most likely outcome positionally is?
I think the old adage of "you are what you defend" makes a lot of sense with him. Now he can defend a lot of guys, but I think he's going to most commonly defend threes. He's most commonly going to defend the other team's best non-point guard wing perimeter player, whether that's whether that's a 3 masquerading as a 4 or a 3 masquerading as a 2 or a 2 playing a 3. Like, he's going to defend the other team's best wing player.
Yeah. No, I like it. Do you want to talk about his brother?
Sure. What you got on his brother?
Do we want to say all the same things, that he's already like one of the best defenders in the entire league and he's really athletic and he can't shoot?
I really thought we were going to branch out more from the top up of the draft. But
all right, fine. We've
yeah.
said all we need to say about him. Where's your GG Jackson stock?
I was low on GG Jackson. I felt like he came onto a crap team at the end of the year and put up decent numbers. I specifically did this segment though thinking about GG Jackson and thinking about what you guys were going to try to tell me about GG Jackson.
Yeah.
What is your anticipation? What are you hoping for the season for GG Jackson?
Wing bench chucker. Like
okay.
a role that's normally filled by a guard, but he's like 6'9".
Mm-hmm.
Coming off the bench, take up those positions where you need someone to shoot, and keep the offense at least getting shots up when Jar's not in the game.
How many minutes would you expect GG to play? And just for reference, last year GG Jackson played 26 minutes per game, 25 and a half minutes per game. And a lot of that was kind of late stages of the season.
Yeah. I'm going to have to bring up their roster. Give me just a second.
At the end of the year, March and April, he's averaging over 30 minutes per game. And in April, at least 20 points per game. On decent efficiency. Not great, but
okay. Well, let's I'll read out the guys that are on the roster. You tell me whether you think GG should play more or less than them. All right. So Jar, Bane, Jaren, Marcus Smart are probably the locks. Brandon Clark.
I like what Clark can bring to this roster. As more of a defensive guy, kind of. I would say less than Clark, but you're getting close.
Santi. Is
Aldama
Santi
less
still
than
the
Santi
starting
Aldama. Santi Aldama freaking led Spain to the Olympics. Aldama is next generation Pau Gasol, keeping my Santi Aldama stock high.
All right. So we're going Santi more. And that takes us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players. All right. So I think there's a decent argument for him to be the 7th man, because the other guys you're looking at is Zach Edey, Jake LaRavia, Vince Williams, who was also nice, Scottie Pippen, who had a really nice summer league, and that's pretty much it.
I'm very mad that the Lakers had Scottie Pippen on a 2-way and then had him on the G League team and never brought him in when we could have used guard help.
Yeah.
So you're just automatically putting him over Vince Williams Jr. then and Zach Edey? Or was Zach Edey in your list?
I think he'll play more than Edey because I mean Edey's probably the starting center, right?
I
maybe Edie
mean,
does play
depends on
more.
where you're starting Jaren Jackson Jr. If Junior's the 5
Oh
and
yeah,
Santi Aldama's the 4,
yeah. That's probably more likely. So then Santi's a backup, and then you can't play too many minutes because you're a one position backup. And also you're competing a little bit with Brandon Clark. Um, so I would think the minutes probably shake out around the same, like 20, 25 minutes a game.
it's interesting. They still have a lot of depth in the bigs. Still have decent depth in the guards. Guards are those kind of wings. I do kind of wonder how much they go small with Ja, Marcus Smart, and Desmond Bain out there. That is not a lot of size for your wing rotation.
Yeah, I
But
think that's probably the way they have to start. Like, I don't think they have anyone that's good enough to be a starter outside of them, unless, like you say, unless they want Jaren playing the 5, and so they play Santi at the 3, which isn't nice.
no, I don't like Santi at the 3. I feel like Santi is more of a 5.
Yeah. I think it's
Like,
time for Jaren Jackson to just become the center.
yeah.
Stop
And then
fucking
you
around.
do
You're
the
playing
change
the
of
5.
pace. You got Edie out there for like when you play that physical team that you can quick sub in Edie and let him just hockey hip
He
check
can be your
people.
discount Steven Adams.
Exactly. All right. Any other sophomores that you want to highlight or question what the next season might look like?
Let's go with. Is there anyone that you're dying to talk about?
So I feel like I kind of know what I'm expecting from a lot of these guys.
Yeah,
So like that's what I'm
what I'm
saying.
thinking as I'm going through them.
It's not necessarily the best, but the guys I'm most interested in. Like I kind of know what I'm going to get with Brandon Pajemski, or I have
Jaime
in my
Jaquez
mind.
or even Chet.
Yeah, I mean maybe like Derek Lively. I can he continue to develop as a passer? Can he take over the full-time starting and role? I feel like the answer is yes on both of those. So I'm not too curious. I guess my last guy that I'd be really interested to see what happens with is Jordan Hawkins. Because I loved me some Jordan Hawkins moments. I love the
Young
confidence, young Kobe, the shot, the creation. But they also just traded for Murray. I don't know if that opens up or takes away space because they got rid of Dyson Daniels. I kind of expect them to move off of either CJ or Brandon and Ingram just to kind of even out the wing rotation. But New Orleans is so deep at wings.
Yeah, they've got no centers, but they've got so many, so much depth in every other position.
Yeah, I mean Herb, Trey Murphy, Zion is I think he's a 4, but he plays on the perimeter a lot. Like there's just a lot of guys that they have out there. Ingram,
Jose Alvarado,
Mr. Puerto Rico himself. It was kind of fun watching Olympics with my wife and having her kind of guess which ones are the NBA players and like she's like, that's not the NBA player. I'm like, you see what he's doing? She's like, he's really good, but he's so tiny. I'm like, yeah.
Were there any hot takes? She was like, man, that guy's definitely an NBA player. And you're like, wait, who?
My wife's 2 most salient takes. She watched it. I forget which game it was with me for like 10 minutes. It might have been the USA Serbia game. And she's like, does Joel Embiid fall a lot? Like, is he lacking coordination or is he embellishing those falls? And I love this. And then her second take was she's like, it feels like Team USA, the ball gets to a guy. He tries to do something. If it doesn't work, he kicks it out to someone else who tries to do something. And when they go to Serbia, you have multiple guys moving at the same time, cutting and playing, or not cutting. She doesn't know like NBA or basketball vernacular.
Yeah.
But she perfectly encapsulated like
USA is all just standing there. The other team's running around all the time. What's going on there?
Yeah, she's like they seem to be playing as a team, whereas Team USA is playing as individuals. where like one guy does it and kicks back, and I was like, man, my wife is a smart lady. She she may not know basketball, but
Yeah,
she's observant.
yeah, yeah. She can see right through it.
Yeah. Then she's like, does he embellish his follows? Like, yes, yes, he does.
She's like, why does that big guy keep falling over?
Yeah. So I guess uh, to do the sophomores, yeah, Hawkins is my last guy that I'm really interested to see what he does this next year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do you have an eighth sophomore, or you want to leave it as the seven sophomores that we're most interested in seeing?
The 7 sophomores. No, let's I'll bring up one more guy who had a really good season. I think made an all rookie team. But is a guy who is maybe one of these lower ceiling kind of guys. Around the league. Whereas I feel like there's maybe a little bit more offensive opportunity for him to look, you know, to exploit that player being Cason Wallace.
Mm. Mm.
Where it seems like he's been pigeonholed as yeah, this is a a career backup point guard. Whereas like he can do good shit on both ends of the ball, and I feel like if he can scale up that usage, which might be hard with just the team that he's on, but I do think that there's more there for him to get to being like a starting caliber of point guard.
You think of him as a point guard? That's interesting. I've always felt I feel like he's more of a 2, but that might
Yeah,
just be
I
the limitations of
guess
the
just
role.
like yeah, and like size wise, that he's like kind of point guard size makes him look like a point guard, even if he's maybe playing more off ball. And like the fact that he can play, he can play some pick and roll, but he's also a really good spot up shooter. Does make him like even more like that backup center archetype, that backup rather point guard archetype. But I want to see him get more creation abilities. But I don't think this roster is probably right for it.
Well, the addition of Alex Caruso, who is not a point guard, but he's just going to take more of those guard minutes. Like, you got Shea, you got Dort, you got Caruso. I don't know where you want to slot Isaiah Joe as if he's a 2 or if he's a 3. Aaron Wiggins, kind of the same deal, but they got a lot of those smaller guys that are going to be kind of ahead of Kason in the pecking order, unless Kason makes that leap. Do you feel like Kason is ready for that leap?
Maybe not this season, but I do think that like this is not a guy that they should marginalize. Like I don't think this is just like a decent backup guard. I think he's gonna have a better career than Isaiah Joe and a better career than Aaron Wiggins if they invest into him.
I mean,
Yeah, we just
I
saw
think
Derek White win a gold medal. Like that's the archetype for this guy who's already a
that's what you think he could
solid
be.
defender. He's already a really good shooter. Already like an intelligent connector. If he can get more on ball and become a true point guard, then
I like
I
it.
do think that he's like a starting caliber player, a guy that's going to be like the 18th best point guard in the league.
I like it. I think he's going to have to show it a lot this year because next year it's all about
Yeah,
Nikola Topic.
yeah, and it's going to be hard for him to show because, like you say, they're so deep that like he may not even be like in their day one, 10-man rotation.
I think the shooting needs to be. He's a good shooter, but he needs to be a good enough shooter to bridge the gap between him and Isaiah Joe because Joe is going to be hitting north of 40%.
Yeah.
From deep.
Joe's a fucking bomber, and it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult shots too. It's like jump shot versatility as well as
Mm-hmm.
just a high efficiency. Like he can shoot off the screen, he can shoot off the dribble, he can off balance on the move. Like he's a lights out shooter.
Yeah, and minutes are going to get eaten up fast. I think they're going to probably play Chet more at the 4 or try to play some minutes with both him and Hartenstein out there.
Yeah, for sure.
If that shifts J Dub down, like there's going to be a crunch in minutes. Kaysen's really going to need to beat out Wiggins and Joe to see the floor.
All right, so is that our hateful eight?
I think that's the 8 sophomores we're most interested in.
The beloved 8.
Yes, sir. Dylan, any final takes for the week?
Nah, man. I'm excited to get into top 100 players in the NBA season.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get back on that.
Almost that
bold
time
prediction.
of year.
How many sophomores are making the top 100 next year?
2.
Wait. Are you counting Chet as one of your sophomores?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. All right. Well, then just looking ahead, we've got some dates on the calendar. The training camps begin September 27th. So about a month and a half away for those teams that are participating in the Abu Dhabi games. Preseason games begin October 5th. The NBA season begins. When does the NBA season begin? October 24th. The All NBA, or not All NBA, the in-season tournament, November 3rd. We've got these dates are coming up fast. It's a short off season, quick turnaround.
Quick turnaround, man. That means that we get to get into the fun stuff.
All
we get to do top 100 rankings. We get to do power rankings, season predictions, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, might try to do some fun stuff. Also, may have to abandon you and Aaron and go on like an actual paternity leave from the podcast just for September. So
we've been over this. Stop putting your children ahead of me. You need to live for my entertainment. Wife and children come second. You and Lowry both need to get your priorities right.
It's the financial security that this pod provides. Gotta keep that focused.
Yeah. Don't forget, I'm giving you 4 years, 250 million to do this podcast.
God, if you give me 4 years, 250 million, I'll pod from the hospital room. Sorry. Listen, I'll be there. There'll be a screaming baby, but the pod must go on at that point.
Just get the really good noise isolated microphone. You'll be right.
I'm just gonna say, maybe it's the fact that I grew up in a more conservative community, and you've got like a lot of people doing the at-home births. I just want there to be a player that does like an at-home birth, like the player's wife that does it at an arena, like pregame. Like, there's got to be a room there that you can reserve, right?
That's crazy. Just like some guys like, no, babe, ball comes first. This is what I live for. But we'll book out the training room. You can give birth there while I play.
Hey, I gotta, got this game at 6. I don't know if the kid's gonna be born in time. So like, listen, I'm gonna be with you this whole time. As soon as kid's born, give the kiss on the forehead, go hit the court.
It's like a game 7 of the NBA finals. It's like, I can't miss this. Like,
yeah. Listen, Gobert missed a game against the Nuggets. You just bring your wife to the arena. When the kid's born, you're good. You get to say hi and then get on the court.
Yeah. It's a good thing that we don't have any women that listen to this podcast.
Yeah, it's a very good thing my wife doesn't do this. Be in trouble. All right. What's your pluggable of the week?
I don't know, man. I've decided I'm going to try to get back into chess because I haven't played in like a year. And I at my birthday party on Friday, Stu's like, "Oh, is that a chessboard?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Let's have a game." I was like, "Oh, fuck." And man, I mean, I was whipping espresso martinis all night, but I was also very rusty. And so if anyone wants to challenge me, as long as you're not actually good, um, the chess.com.
To chess.com, a map. All right. You find me here. Find me on TikTok, Nate_Hoops Temple. Email the show, hoopstemple@gmail.com. We read all of the emails. We may not respond to them all, but they've been really fun for Aaron and I's rankings. If you have thoughts about your team, shoot us those thoughts. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you and goodbye.